And Fuji's sitting with us, and Lex comes and sits across from us. And Lex now had these beautiful cowboy boots. I mean, they were shiny, they were beautiful, they were nice. And Fuji's like, he's looking at me, he's like this. He goes, Warlord, watch this. Zip. Hear this? I'm looking up in tears, and you see it, his boots are just soaked. The whole ground is soaked. And Luger isn't batting an eye. He's like,
we've got Demolition, the Powers of Pain, the Wrestling Legends, and do we have Kenny in the back there?
One man is a true legend right here. Right here.
Yeah, that's because I'm the oldest one.
Superstar.
You can share, I'm afraid, tonight. So.
That's no problem.
Yeah, but the problem is, what is his and his was, yours will be his also.
Yeah.
I don't own him, so I don't care.
I'll take that one, if you don't mind. Thank you, sir. All right, folks.
What about the Patera? Ken Patera?
Yeah. Where's I didn't see Ken Patera, so we're gonna have.
He's on the way.
All right.
He's coming.
He'll be here, so maybe we can get started a little ahead of time, and when Ken gets here, we'll give him another big round of applause. First and foremost, I'll get us started, and then, folks, if you have any questions, just throw your hand up. I'll come over, and you guys can ask away here, guys. How often do you guys get sick of the comparisons? Because that's probably not so much for you guys, but you guys probably got that a lot.
well, first of all, when we did our gimmick and we came with the gimmick and that stuff, actually it was Animal that helped us come up with the gimmick.
Right.
And both him and Hawk gave us their blessing to do what we were doing and that stuff. Because at that time they were baby faces, but they weren't true baby faces because no one could ever beat them down to the ground. And when Bar Meat came out, we were actually bigger, stronger than they were and that stuff. So they loved it because now they could become true baby faces. So for them it was great. And then of course, with Demo and that stuff, it's just an honor, going to the ring with them all the time. And they were the biggest thing in WWF. They held the belts for how long? I mean, I think longer than any other tag team ever has. So that's been an honor the whole time. So it's a great thing, man. Love it.
Yeah, and my voice is kind of going away, but we loved working with these guys. They were great. So we never thought we were compared with anybody because they were two different guys. They worked different than we did, and it just seemed like it was a really good fit for us to go against each other.
Yeah, we had good matches every time, and they've been friends for years and years, and we're looking forward to being friends for more years. So.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to be up here with them too, because we haven't been in the same towns very much until just in the last probably 6 months we've been kind of traveling together. So.
Plus, also we're the only remaining tag teams going from the 80s in our time.
Right.
Back then and that stuff, there ain't no other tag teams that are pretty much together and that stuff. Right. And that's a big honor, man. Love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How many years have you guys been together now?
34, 30, it was in 1987. 37 years.
Yes,
And you know the great thing about it is 37 years we've been together. 39. Never once have we ever fought, yelled at each other.
Wow.
We've ever had a disagreement. We've always worked everything out. It's been any marriage I've ever had.
And that's kind of the same with us. What is it, 36 years? 37 years for us too, the same way. Pretty neat.
So when you hear these guys and they're talking about you guys as these legends and how they look up to you, how does that feel when you're hearing the next generation and they've put you on this huge pedestal, which is much deserved, especially, I mean, given what the WWF was at that time. I mean, you guys helped build what we all have today.
One word, old.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't say that.
I don't look at it as levels. These guys are just as good as us, right? And far superior to many other teams.
Right.
We had great matches with them, and all of our memories, and mine in particular, are when their names come up, we have nothing but positives for them.
It's so cool too because our generation was so special. The guys were so special. it's the best era of wrestling there'll ever be. I mean, when you got Hogan, Savage, Ultimate Warrior, Rick Rude, Ric Flair, you got Andre the Giant. I mean, and then you got great tag teams like this that are incredible and that stuff, you know. I mean, you can't touch it. It's the best thing in the world. There'll never be anything that ever touch it in this world, no matter whatever wrestling becomes in the future, ever.
You know, and what was so neat was the greatest tag teams. You know, it wasn't just 3 or 4 tag teams. There was 10 teams that were just incredible, and any one of those teams could have held the belts like we did, but we just happened to be lucky enough to be the ones that carry them for so long.
Yeah, it could have been main events, any team you work with, and every night you go out and you try to have the best match on the card. And a lot of times we were able to, and they were able to, and like you said, the talent list, somebody brought a card program, and from the first match all the way up to the end, there's like 12, 14 matches. That would be, the first match would be a main event today.
Right.
It's fantastic, all the talent. But when you're in the forest, you don't realize it, where all the trees are the same.
And like Bill was talking about, you know, at one time, people don't realize we were running 3 towns a night. And that's 3 main events in different cities across this country every day of the week. You'd have Hogan in one, you'd have Ultimate Warrior in another one, and the other one you'd have Demolition doing the main event. I mean, how many places can say that they got 3 main events, 3 cities running every single night, and every one of them was jam-packed. I mean, it was an incredible time to be a wrestler at that time.
And then you got guys like Ken Patera.
Yep.
And let's welcome Ken Patera, everybody, to the stage. Talking legends. There's a legend right there, ladies and gentlemen.
What's going on in here?
Oh my God! I didn't know Ken Patera was Canadian.
Yeah.
We do have
I'm whatever you want me to do.
See, we always liked being around Ken because he was the quietest one in the room.
Yeah. Nobody ever knew I was in the room.
We got one question over here for you, folks.
So, I loved growing up, early on seeing some of your guys' matches. I wasn't able to see a lot of the tag teams though, more the spin-off characters. My favorite being the Repo Man.
Oh, yeah.
Did any of you guys also have singles to look up?
So, like, did they ask if they had other
characters
like that? Like, so, what was did you guys have other characters that you portrayed that you really liked? I think I got that right.
I did the Masked Superstar for a number of years, so.
Yeah, I did the Sheik. The Sheik of Arabic, Jerry Blackwell, Ken Patera, and Sheik Adnan El-Casey. Adnan El-Casey actually was born and grew up in Baghdad, Iraq.
Yeah.
And his nemesis, Hussein, grew up on the other side of town.
Yes, Saddam Hussein. You knew him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Explains a lot.
yeah. And Adnan just passed away recently over in Hawaii. He had a condo over there for years. He bought that condo back in the late 60s and never sold it. But he lived over here in the mainland. He lived mainly in Minnesota. Hopkins?
Yeah, what a difference.
Yeah.
Baghdad to Hopkins, Minnesota.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It's the same thing, isn't it?
Weather's a little different.
Yeah.
Relatively
yeah,
the same.
right, yeah.
Relatively the same.
You go from 120 to
120 below.
yeah, right.
You're right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We got a question over here. Here, I'll just hand you the.
Hey, thanks for coming. What did you all think about working for the WCW with Eric Bischoff?
That'd be Barb.
Did you say
Did anybody work with Eric Bischoff over at WCW? And what did you think of Bischoff?
I don't know much.
That tells you everything right there.
Listen, my partner wrestled WCW, him and Haku and that stuff. They wrestled it with Kevin Sullivan's outfit. And if I can get him to talk here a little bit, which he doesn't talk a lot, he'll talk.
Yeah, I worked for Eric Bischoff, and Eric was very good to me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have too much bad things to say about anybody in the business, but Eric, whatever he said to me, he actually did. And yeah, I had one of the best matches of my life one time, and was me and Dustin in the back of a pickup truck.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And he called me up the next morning. He says, "Hey Barry, I got some good news and some bad news." And I said, "Well, what is it?" And he says, "Well, the good news is you guys had a hell of a match." And I said, "Okay, what's the bad news?" He says, "You're fired."
What?
Holy shit! So for having the best match, you get fired. But he promised he was going to hire me back, and he did. So I don't have anything bad to say about him.
Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know much about Eric except when I retired in November of '88, I went back to Minnesota, and in the interim, Vern Gagne's organization, the AWA, which at one time when I started there in '72, was the best territory in the country, or if not the best, right the top three, like Mid-Atlantic and WWE. But anyway, I called Wahoo McDaniel. He was booking for Gagne at the time, him and Ray Stevens, the Crippler. He said, "Ken, can you come down to the wrestling office and we can sit down and discuss what we might be able to do with you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll come down." So I had a limousine service at the time. I pull up in a big stretch limo. And yeah.
Big ballin'.
Yeah, right. And he says, "I don't think we can pay you enough to buy the gas for that fucking thing." He said, "The territory is dead." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, we're." So anyway, I said, "Well, give me a couple bookings." Well, the next booking we can get you is the next show we're running is in a softball field over in a little town in Wisconsin. And this is summertime, so we're outside. So I say, book me, take a gamble on it. So I show up. It was outdoors. There's about 50 people in the stands. And I looked around. I said, "Wahoo, the AWA is dead." And he cracked up. So the guy running the camera at that time, cameraman, was Eric Bischoff. Yeah. And he grew up upstate Minnesota. Bemidji?
Yeah, Bemidji.
Yeah, Bemidji. And he was into martial arts. I guess he was fairly good at it. And but he was a big wrestling fan. He got on as cameraman. And anyway, he didn't know how to talk or anything on the mic. So he asked me if I could come over and help him out with interviews. I said, "Yeah, I can give you some tips and everything." So the next night, I pulled up in my limo. My driver gets out. I have him put on the little fucking hat and everything. Oh, he looked great. He looked great. He comes around, opens up the back door for me. I step out. I think I had gym shorts and a tank top on. And so he said, I said, "You got everything set up?" He said, "Yeah, I got it looking like a locker room." So he had about 10 old lockers as a backdrop, and he had a skirt for to go around the whole thing. So it looked pretty good. And so he had, I don't recall who was running the camera at the time, but we actually filmed him interviewing me. And then we sit down and go over it, I point out, give him pointers here and stuff, how to ask wrestlers, how to do different things. And so he did pretty good, so I went back about a week later. We did the same thing. And then I remember 3 times we did it. And after the third time, he caught on pretty good.
And he said, you did a really well job teaching me, and you're fired.
How'd you know?
It's the Eric Bischoff story.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he fired me. I kind of wish he did. Because by that time, I had my health club opened up. I had my limousine service was really doing well. It eventually died like a piece of shit. Don't ever get in the limo service because.
Oh man! Now you tell me.
Yeah.
Now you tell.
I think out of about 10 or 12 people the first 6 months, one was suitable. All the rest were either drug addicts, thieves.
He's like, it's me.
Yeah.
Oh, you had a question. I'm sorry. I thought he was like, yes, I'm that drug addict that was in your car.
Yeah.
That's weird.
They were either drug addicts or thieves or just like Hillary Clinton would say, deplorables. Yeah. And it was a tough business to find good help, I'll tell you.
I do have a question for all of you guys, because growing up watching wrestling and loving wrestling as much as I do, there seems to be a large number of great technical wrestlers that all come out of Minnesota. What is it about Minnesota that makes it such a hotbed for wrestlers coming out of there, pro wrestlers?
We had Grain Belt beer, right? That was the brewery that was there, Grain Belt beer.
It was the beer. It was the beer there.
Yeah.
I dig it. See, I was hoping it was going to have to do something with the Vikings, but no.
Listen, when you got to go through the winters we did up there, and you go outside, it's 30 below, about 80 below wind chill. All you do is stay indoors. You figure out something to get into. So you figure out either these are three things: either eat a lot, you learn something, do something really well, or you have a lot of sex.
Yeah. I knew that was coming.
That's exactly what it is in Minnesota. That's come so many great and big guys, monsters came out of Minnesota.
So the two places that I always notice when I hear people like coming out of, is Minnesota and Samoa.
Yep.
You could not be more opposed on both sides there. So it's the heat over there got you guys all working out all the time.
Barb Tongan.
Smart talk. And I got you next, sir. And then you.
Well, I just don't want you guys to confuse. I'm not Samoan. I'm from Tongan.
I'm sorry. My bad.
Well, each other's island, believe me.
Well, it's similar. Same kind of people, Polynesian, but different environment, different language. But we love them. They love us. But yeah, you're right, brother. They are big people.
Very big. It's basically we're going to play rugby or we're going to beat people up.
Yes, yes, they do.
You know what? As a Canadian, we love that. Here, you got a question.
Thank you. So tag team wrestling was always my favorite type of wrestling, and Demolition, you're my favorite tag team of all time.
Thank you.
Faces of Fear is right up there as well, Barbarian. Sorry, Warlord.
That's all right. You can leave me out. That's fine.
But both you guys, both your teams were managed by Mr. Fuji. I'm sure you get this asked a lot. Is there any good stories or ribs that Mr. Fuji did that you
we were
able to share?
We were just having a really good talk when we were having our little afternoon lunch before we came here.
Barbarian can tell that story.
Okay, I'm gonna let Barb tell you that story.
Come on, Barb, tell the story.
Tell a Lex Luger one.
Bless Fuji. Bless you, Fuji. We love you. Yes, yeah. Before.
All right. What it was is NWA and WWF, both of us came together at the same time in Philadelphia, same day. We were residents of Spectrum and they're racing down at the downtown, I believe the Municipal Auditorium. So we all stayed at the Marriott at the airport. So we're all there. And Fuji's with Barb and me. And he hears something about Lex Luger. At that time, Lex had a little bit of an attitude back then. I love Lex, but he did have an attitude back then. When all the boys would come into the room back then, everybody would always shake each other's hand. If you knew somebody personally, ask them how their family's doing. Lex would just come in and drop his bag, look at everybody, and walk out. So everybody kind of took that very personal back then. Well, Fuji had heard about all this stuff. And Fuji's sitting with us, and Lex comes and sits across from us. And Lex now had these beautiful cowboy boots. I mean, they were shiny, they were beautiful, they were nice. And Fuji's like, he's looking at me, he's like this. He goes, Warlord, watch this. Zip. You hear this? Shh. I'm looking up in tears, and you see it, his boots are just soaked. The whole ground is soaked. And Luger isn't batting an eye. He's like, looking at Fuji like that because he's heard about Fuji. And he don't want to screw with Fuji. And he took it on the chin with that one. And Fuji did till he was done. Zip. And he got that big grin. I mean, his poor boots were ruined. He did so much there. I mean, it was another time we were at the Marriott in Miami. And he's sitting next to me, and he gives me a little like this, and he goes, Warlord, watch. Manager's talking. I'm in face to face. Zip. Peeing all over the ground next to the manager. And the manager doesn't want to say a word. He's just looking at Fuji in the eye. Because he probably heard about Fuji. Zip. I'm just looking, you gotta be kidding me, man. No one ever said a word to Fuji, because if you piss Fuji off, you got to sleep with one eye open the rest of your life.
Pissed on you.
You would have to sleep with one eye the rest of your life open. Okay? That's how Fuji was. If he loved you, he loved you. If he didn't, you better watch the rest of your life. That's how it was.
Love it. All right, we got enough time for 2 questions here. So I got you and then you in the back, okay?
Barbarian, what was it like working when you became Sione and working with the Samoan SWAT team, the head shrinkers? Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good. 1-year deal. I like it. Different style. But it was not for me. I just filled it up. I just filled up for Sam, Big Sam, and it was a blessing. They called me back and came up and filled up for him. Yeah, it was good. It was good little run. It's like I say, it's a different style, but Powers of Pain, is for life. Yeah, just like Faces of Fear. Like Faces of Fear, I like the team, different style with Ming, Hako, but I miss Warlord. Powers of Pain is for life. Yeah, we are for life. So.
Love it.
37 years? 37 years.
All right, we got the last question right here in the back. Better be good. You're the last one, man. Pressure's on.
So my wife is from Uganda, Africa. And when she was growing up, one of her things that she had to do as a kid, one of her chores, was she used to have to wake up the parents to watch wrestling because it came on at 3 o'clock in the morning. And her favorite wrestler, my mother-in-law, was actually Demolition. That was her thing, that they would have to wake the people up in the village so they could watch at 3 in the morning on like a Saturday night. And I always thought that was interesting, but did you guys ever realize or think when back in the 80s, before the internet and all that, like how widespread wrestling could have been around the world, how you could have influenced people from different cultures, different worlds, how you could bring, or is that anything that ever crossed your minds? Or
Well, you know what? It's nice to hear stories like that, because when we were involved in it, and these guys can attest to it as well, we weren't allowed to do these things, interact with the public. We were supposed to be this image or that image and, stay away. And what's really nice now is this many years later to have you and other people come up to us and say, oh, I remember this. Do you remember that? They actually remember more about what we did than we do.
Yeah.
Because we were busy doing it.
Yeah.
And to realize like that story is fantastic. But I personally, and I'm sure they'll say the same thing, didn't know how widespread and how many people we touched. And it's very humbling to have people, we do podcasts and interviews from all over. We do virtuals, and they're tuning in from all over the world. And boy, it makes you feel good that you did something that people say, hey, I remember this, you helped me with this. We would physically didn't help them, but we gave them a little avenue of escape. And I just feel fortunate. I know that they do too. All of us. Yeah. It doesn't matter what territory you were in, to have somebody come say, boy, you helped me with this. And we have a lot of people, you helped me through a difficult time in childhood, or you was our escape. We used to watch you guys or wait for you guys to come on just to get out of real life situations. So I just thank God he gave that gift to me.
Yeah, it's like Bill's saying here and that stuff. We all knew kind of where wrestling was going to go someday. Back in our time, we're doing a lot of house shows. We only did TVs every 3 weeks. That was it. We only did 4 pay-per-views a year back in that time, which I love because the pay-per-views were incredible in our time. But we knew that everything was coming to TV someday. It was everything was going to go to TV. The house shows were going to die because TV is where the money's at. And the TV spreads us all around the whole world, which is an incredible thing. And now, especially for the legends and that stuff, since we didn't get to interact with people like Bill talked about and all that stuff, now we're getting a chance for people to ask us questions and us to tell them about our stories, because our stories are incredible that we have. I mean, you're just hearing a couple stories here. We got thousands of stories, guys, believe me. Stories that you're like, eh?
And some of them we can say in public.
Yeah. Some that'll make you so laugh so hard your stomach hurts. You know, I mean, it's an amazing thing. But like I say, we're lucky enough, bar me, I know Demolition, especially Kenny, that we got to be in the eras that were the greatest wrestlers in the world. In my era, especially with WWF there and Demolition and Kenny, we were comic book characters brought to real life that you could actually talk to, you could touch, you could whatever around them. They were a true comic book character. Just like I have a comic book, you're like, wow, yeah, that's a comic book character. It was awesome, man. And we could actually perform and do things that are unbelievable in that ring for our size. Guys, cool. I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Guys, I want to say, first and foremost, thank you so much. You guys talked about how good you were to us. You guys are great. Like, you are so important to each and every one of us. You got us through so much. And thank you, each and every one of you. Thank you, every one of you, for being here as well. And let's hear it for the Legends of Wrestling.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Very good. You bet.
That was a hard one.
You know, we are.